chưa có tiếng gì hết. Tai nghe đang chưa có tiếng gì hết.
Alo 1, 2, 3, mọi người nghe thấy không ạ? Alo, mọi người có nghe thấy tiếng từ bên phía viện không ạ? Alo. Oh, can you please speak English? Can you hear me, please?
Cái màn hình live nó vẫn hiện ra cái cũ của cái chương trình hôm qua. Màn hình live vẫn lên cái video hôm qua. Em đang Thế à? Mà chị lên Facebook của chị xem nó vẫn đang chạy lại cái event hôm qua.
Are you ready? Yes, on behalf of Hanoi Grapevine, my name is Uyên Ly. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, viewers through live streams. I'm very happy to receive all of you here. This is day 2, because yesterday this is day 1. And welcome all of you, the participants. To get to know more each other, newcomers, I would like to introduce, we are in the round table, LiveSpace Pro, connecting with international music industry. And this is day 2 in a 3-day event in 24th, 25th, and 26th of October in Complex 01, a live stream on a Facebook page. And this is sponsored by Institute Fungjai Vietnam, Thao Van Hoa. And we bring along opportunities to discuss with international artists, understand the challenges, and also more connections, and also the solutions for better integration in international network. This is also a very good chance for Vietnamese artists to know more about their services and products, as well as expand the networks in Vietnam and international global scale. I'm very happy because we in the roundtable number 2, which is how to attract international artists to Vietnam. And roundtable number 2 will be in 3 subparts. The first one is about the structure of venues and festivals in the network. And number 2 is, could an increase in the programming of international artists lead to diminishing the programming of Vietnamese artists in Vietnam? And this is an open-ended question for the speakers and also the panelists. And number 3 is international questions and then information questions. And then inform on major events, how to inform the audience with the events and how they can engage in these events and expand opportunities for them at the same time. And this is the first topic, please. And structure venues in festivals in a network. And I think this is a very important network to have connectivity between artists and the audience. So how? The question is how we can maximize the network and then support creators. And to solve the problems, I like to I'd like to listen from the panelists. From my right-hand side, Mrs. Thia Liu from Panda Media, and this is a music production company working with a lot of famous brands. And they work at Tomorrowland, Maybelline New York, Grab. And I know that Thia Liu is also head of 1900. Yes, thank you very much, Thia Liu. And Mr. Piyapong from Fungjai join us from Zoom. Hello. And he is a co-founder and also director from Fungjai music platform and a creative agency. Very dynamic in Bangkok, Thailand, and the target is for the sustainable development of international artists to have prolonged their career and sustainable career. And Mrs. Hằng Nguyễn is from from Thanh Việt Production. Is from Monsoon Music Festival. It is a very important festival, one of the best or the most important festivals in Vietnam at the moment. And Hằng also a content creator in fashion and lifestyle. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Mr. Duc Anh from Hanoi Rock City, from my right-hand side. He's one of the co-founders of Hanoi Rock City. It is a very important place and the hub of independent artists in Hanoi. And Mr. Duc Anh is one of the co-founders to have a very good playground and a playful playground and opportunities for young artists and promoting independent artists and music in Vietnam and Hanoi. Yesterday we talked to Ngọt Band, Mr. Thắng. We have a lot of performances. They have a lot of performances in Hanoi, and thanks to Hanoi Rock City. Thank you, Mr. Duc Anh. And from my left-hand side, Mr. Quang Hưng from Polygon Musik. This is the venue that you are sitting at the moment. And I'm very happy that after 10 years, I think it's 12 years, I guess. Yes, 12 years, it's still existing, it's still alive. Through ups and downs, we know that all the live music venues in Hanoi, how difficult it has been. And thank you, Polygon, for accompanying us and also Vietnamese music and artists through many generations. Thank you, Mr. Hưng. And dear audience, before the roundtable, please ask us several questions. We have the last 10 minutes at the end of the roundtable for questions. So in case you have any direct questions, you can raise your hand in the venue. So if you are live stream or Zoom, so you can leave a comment, because I see the replies and questions immediately. Thank you. And just press yes. Thank you. And I'd like to ask Ms. Thia Liu from the challenges, the main challenges for Heart Media when you have the booking tour and then the tours for the artists. So what are the challenges and how to connect the venues? Is that one of the main challenges that your company is now facing? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to ask, yes, I would like to answer this question in English. Vâng, khi mà tổ chức thì tôi nhận ra là
besides budgets, besides the understanding of the promoters, of the audience, with our artists, music and products, then venues is certainly like a big issue. And artists and independent promoters usually are at the mercy of club owners, of clubs' decisions, and therefore they have to opt to perform at smaller venues, and it will result in lower revenues for the promoters and the artists, and make it almost impossible for promoters to even like do break-evens. And also, I think that there is a serious lack of venues, and venues are not even, you know, adequately equipped for live music, or smaller size or medium size arenas are not built for music also. So the production cost is such a main issue. You know, like when you are spending so much money on productions, then you do not have enough money or budget to spend on promoting and marketing for your shows, and therefore it will result in not, you know, making great revenues. And I think that we really need more venues with capacity around like 500 to at least 1,500 packs to, and to make it to happen. And I mean, like while we organize our tours or while we're getting offers from artists to come, then it is always a big issue for us to you know, like balance out the cost, the budget cost with the venues. And almost no promoters make break even or revenues if we do not have a lot of help from sponsors. Yes, sponsors. And it is so important for sponsors to help our venues, to help promoters, and to understand the artists, and not just, you know, not just making, not just putting in money unless it's top 100 DJs or like, you know, like top artists, but also support other artists, independent promoters as well.
Wow, cảm ơn Tia Liêu rất là nhiều vì câu trả lời cực kỳ là chi tiết và
Thank you, Tia, for this question. It's very realistic answer. So if you want to make it, you know, more feasible or tangible for us to imagine how much we need to increase, how much we need to decrease, about the revenues, about the and if we have a good venue, so can you have a basic calculation, just like a basic math calculations? Và tôi nghĩ khá là khó.
Yeah, it depends on the artist, and you know, like different artists will have different writers. It depends on the tech writers. Some artists will have, you know, not just the sound system. They also need visuals. They also need stage designs, and all of that. It couldn't, you know, we couldn't make like an average assumption, but I could say it could save us around like 30-40%, like, you know, approximately.
30-40% là một con số rất là lớn.
Yes, 30 and 40% is a huge number. I think it's a tremendous talk right now. It's from Pai Young, please. From your experience, when you work in Thailand with your company, your Fungjai company, so when you have a tour for artists in Thailand and in Southeast Asia, so for each tour, so how many shows and in how many venues, please? The question is, how many gigs and venues do you often play? Can you hear me? No.
I can hear you, although the signal may not be too clear, but I...
Vâng, tôi nghĩ là tôi nghe thầy.
The printed notes with me, the printed questions, so that's okay. All right. So, you're asking me about organizing tours for artists around Thailand and around Southeast Asia, right? What's the difference? How many, you know, venues to hit?
Yes.
It totally depends on the artist and the audience, right? So the thing is, for example, if a famous Thai artist were to tour Thailand, they could tour almost every province. Every province would have like at least one big bar, at least one big, you know, bar/restaurant where artists could perform at. But our infrastructure, it's not a live house, but it's more like a bar, a restaurant where people sit down, have drinks, enjoy the food and the drinks with the artist playing on stage. But for example, an independent artist that is not that famous, we would need to select like which cities would appreciate these kinds of artists. Mostly would be college towns, the cities with the big universities, the big colleges, especially music colleges. Then those artists would be able to have a big enough fan base to appreciate them and buy tickets to see their shows. But still, those bars would probably hold just a few hundred people. But if it were an international artist that is not known in Thailand, the only place they could hit is Bangkok, right? Thailand is very condensed, in Bangkok. Bangkok has around like 10 to 15 million people, but the second largest city in Thailand is Hat Yai, which has only 500,000 people, so much, much less. So to have an international artist to tour in Thailand, it's basically just Bangkok, doing one show, no more than two or something like that. Now, for Southeast Asia, that's also the same thing. Do they have an audience in that country or not? And it totally depends. And the way you can gauge the audience, of course, you can start with online statistics, whether from Spotify, from YouTube. But the best is also to consult with local experts. They would be able to tell you like which kinds of artists or which name artists would work in their market or will not make it in their market. And they would be able to gauge like how many people would buy tickets and which cities to hit. So I hope that answers broadly your question.
Yes, thank you anh Pai. Cảm ơn anh Pai. Tôi tò mò về việc là khi mà anh tổ chức các tour như
Yes, thank you, Pai. I have a question. Is that do you have the available network of ties with each other? Do you have a firm network and of venues and festivals, and how these venues work together? Yes, and how these venues work together, please. Vâng, thì tôi có một cái hệ thống.
If an
Có một cái hệ thống và trước hết là họ sẽ kết hợp với tôi là ví dụ như họ liên lạc hệ với tôi xem họ có muốn được biểu diễn ở Thái Lan hay không, và tôi sẽ cùng thảo luận với một số người bạn và chúng tôi sẽ thảo luận xem là cái địa điểm là hay là những cái người hỗ trợ là ai, những công ty quảng cáo là ai, và đâu là những cái địa điểm mà họ có thể.
Or should it be a concert hall? So it totally depends on the artist and also the audience. Now, how the venues work together, they don't really work together because they're competitors, right? But because it's such a small scene, most of the venue owners would know each other anyway. And the promoters would be the ones who select which venue they would like to utilize, to work with, depending on the sizing and also the equipment that is available at the venue. Some of them have backline, some of them do not. So sometimes you need to rent stage production, audio equipment, and lighting equipment. Some places you don't really have to do much.
Cảm ơn anh ạ. Nghe có vẻ cũng khá là tương đồng với lại thực tế Việt Nam đúng không?
Thank you very much. It seems very similar to Vietnam's situation. So, Ms. Hằng from Monsoon Music Festival, I know that Monsoon has organized small performances, and that attracts a lot of attention from the audience. And you have organized your events for the past few years. So, did you have any challenges when you look for a venue for your festivals? So how important are your small performances?
Over the past few years, Monsoon Music Festival had a lot of warm-up activities, and they were just not limited to live stage performances. We also had other activities, including workshop at a university. We also had street art for children at the walking street, and we also had a music conference which took place for the first time in 2019. So other than that, we had a lot of activities other than just live stage performances. And it's very important to choose the location, because for each location, it has different requirements and functions and conditions. So we need to make sure that the location meets our requirements and needs in terms of space, capacity, conditions, and whether or not it's very accessible to people. And it has a lot of factors to consider. So we need to consider all those factors in order to choose the right and appropriate locations for our warm-up activities. And we think warm-up activities are very important equally for artists and also Monsoon Music Festival, because we want to create a week-long program for not just the audience, but also the artists. So people can live in music, to be engaged with the artists, and to take part in different programs. And I think it's, we want to provide a platform for artists to, not just international, but also local artists, to showcase their works, their projects, and to interact with people. Because we don't think, especially indie artists and new artists, they do not have enough opportunities and chances to be on stage and then to reach out to people. So we want to provide the platforms for them to showcase the projects and also to learn from their fellow artists.
Cảm ơn Monsoon, tại vì là tôi thì luôn đánh giá cao cái việc là Monsoon hay là như chia.
Thank you, Monsoon. I highly appreciate Monsoon and when you have overcome all the challenges, when you look for venues, I think that it is often a very great challenge for you when you look for a venue. And now the question goes to Mr. Duc Anh from HRC and Quang Hưng Polygon. So you own venues for several years and you have a lot of experience, right? And do you want to have a system or network of venues that can be connected together? Because I know that HRC and Polygon Musik, you know, you have very basic platforms. So, yeah, Duc Anh, can you answer first?
Thanks for the question.
Vâng, xin cảm ơn. Vâng, như là ông Pai cũng vừa nói, thì cũng đã có mặt ở một số những người bạn. Vâng, xin cảm ơn câu hỏi của chị. Thì tôi nghĩ là bây giờ thì tôi cũng cần phải xây dựng một cái mạng lưới. Những cái người mà có những cái địa điểm. Không biết tôi đã có chưa?
Ish? Like I said, yeah. We need like a forum, like a group of people, like officially, and then we can do networking events so people can work together. But with the same issue, like Mr. Pai said, at the moment for international acts, although they always prefer to have more than one shows, it is quite difficult to have more than one show in one city. That's almost impossible, right? You can try to get 2 or 3 shows in Hanoi, 1 in Da Nang, and 1 in Saigon, and that would probably be the best case scenario. However, for a place like Hanoi Rock City, which is a 300 to 400 max capacity, we're always in this paradox of we don't have the capacity and the money to book really well-known act. But when we book up-and-coming cool act for internationally, then the problem with the Vietnamese crowd at the moment is we are like 50 years behind the world in terms of music and art, I would say-ish. But we don't have this habit of checking out new things. The Vietnamese people would go to see music if they already know the band and they like the band. They would never go, oh, this is a new band. I wonder what they do. I'll go and check them out and pay like 100,000 to see what happens. And if that's the case, that's what I really want to happen in the music scene, is the crowd to be more open-minded and willing to check out new people, new bands that they've never seen before, in order for them to thrive as well, instead of only focusing and buying tickets to like super well-known band. And personally, I've been trying, for example, this band that I've been in love with from Taiwan called Elephant Gym, and they play like beautiful music. But I know for sure if I ever invite them over, I would definitely lose money. And I don't know how many tickets I can sell. So it probably take a long time for me to sort of try to promote them before even bringing them here, like 6 months or a year. or something like that. So
I see,
it's
yeah.
it's always a paradox between a well-known band or like up-and-coming band. So international act that I invited over or have the chance that they travel, 99% of the people who come to see them is because I put another local act that's well-known, and they'll come and check them out. So that's a few facts for you about the
Cảm ơn Duc Anh.
venue.
Bên cạnh câu hỏi thì Duc Anh đã giúp mở ra cả một cái
Duc Anh, for your question. The question is how the venues and can exist and how to expand the opportunities of welcoming from the audience and what are the solutions. Thank you. So if you listen attentively, you can see that Duc Anh has also proposed a remedy for the challenge, how to attract more viewers and audience to the new customers, new artists.
See that we have artists, we have venues, we have sponsors, we have organizer, but we don't have anyone to connect on those to a system. Yeah, so I think that is the most important thing for the music scenes, Hanoi, Vietnam and Hanoi music scenes now. We, Hanoi Rock City and Polygon, we willing to be a sponsors of the venues to support the new artists. Yeah, and but it's not enough. We need more people to do the advertisement and yeah, and more things to for that. So that's why.
Yes, thank you, Hưng. From the audience, I think when I see a new artist or international artist coming to Vietnam, I would not want to see it for one show only. So if I like them too much, I will like go into 2 or 3 shows. So I want more exposure to the artists. The more, the better. Yes, this is the questions for all, for the audience to ponder. And please pose questions to the panelists. So if we have a system to connect all stakeholders, so what is the ideal network? What is the ideal structure in terms of festivals or artists or venues? How does it look like? How do you want it to look like? Tia, please.
As Hot Panda Media, as 1900, and recently as Hằng Nguyễn Group, we have been trying to create this network. But before this, I was a lot involved in more, like dance music, EDM. And we have tried to organize several international conferences, music conferences. And we even tried to invite, venue owners over. And, it is very rare for conferences to make a revenue, So for our second one, we were able to make some profits from it. And people were praising us, you're doing a good job. But I came home and cried because the people who I really, really wanted to be there, they was not there because they thought of us, I think, as, competition. They want to do something the same, but not as something that, that is already presented there, and then you can just, take your chances and do your networking, not just to be there, take photos with the promoters or labels or managers, but really, really network. So that's the one thing that, I came home and cried for, and people were like, you shouldn't be expecting so much. But, after that, I think this is a long way work. It takes a lot of resistance, a lot of resilience, because once we are working as a network, competition is healthy, but it should not be toxic. And venues or promoters from the same city or the same region, once we organize tour, it's almost impossible for artists or even management to agree to have multiple shows in one city, because it would affect the revenues of that certain venues that they were committed to. So it has to be from other cities, like Mr. Duc Anh was saying. But together, and if we can figure out a way to network together, then we could share our plans, our resources, our network, our media powers, and overall it would benefit, all parties, even including the audience, because it will increase their, experience. But this networking, it has to take, people have to really, really understand the nature of it. Not just, it's not about the face, it's not about how good you look, or it's not about who's the leader. It's about how we work this together in harmony, I think.
Thank you. Cảm ơn. Bây giờ mình xin đọc một cái comment của
Yes, I thank you. I would like to read one comment from a live stream. Sometimes I want to go to shows urgent to my house. So if you have the concert map for us, because thank you. Yes, thank you for this question. This is a very interesting comment. Maybe you can you already proposed for us to ponder. And next comment, yes, I think so. If Hanoi has concept map, thank you for an interesting idea. I think it's one recommendation, a suggestion to build a network. A lot of things can happen. Yes, please, Hằng, please, and Hưng. For what do you think it is an ideal network?
So I think there is still a lot of work to be done in order to create a network in Vietnam, because with Monsoon, the kind of ideal network that we want is a platform where we can connect agencies, promoters, artists, festival producers, and not just locally but also internationally, because it's very important to connect all these parties in order to create more opportunities for music export, artist export, and it's also very important for the audiences in Vietnam to explore new music, new trends, new artists in the world. And I also think that this kind of network should be able to create the opportunities also for the artists. As I have mentioned before, we have a lot of very talented young artists in Vietnam, but then there are not a lot of opportunities or platforms, venues for them to showcase their work to the audiences. So I think it's very important to, this network should be able to provide the opportunities for the artists to showcase their work to the audience.
I have my own experience. Whenever I travel to, I always want to find information about gigs during my stays in that cities, but I have never found out one. And and yes, in Hanoi, actually there's before the Hanoi Grapevine had sometimes gives information about art and exhibition and cultural activities in Hanoi. And I do want to have a platform like that, like a Facebook page or TikTok channels or some websites. Yeah, actually, I don't think websites work well now. I think now people stay more on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. It's just my ideas. Yep. By someone else.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
They control you.
Just say what you want.
Yeah.
Well, I think like,
it's not.
Okay, I think that before COVID, we had a platform like that, and we are going to bring it back again. It's called Nightlife, and that is where all the concerts and events are listed, and you can go there and do your ticket buying or buy your combos to get tables from different venues. But it's the future talking again now, because of COVID, everything is reset and we have to rework. But we really hope to bring that platform again.
Nghe rất là hứa hẹn, có nhiều ý tưởng, thậm chí là có thể thực hiện và triển khai.
That is a very promising idea. So when we think about this, and we can have a new project, a new network with great supporters for Vietnam's music development. And now let's move to the second topic of our roundtable discussion today. So can panelists still stay here with us, because we will go on with the next topic. That is introducing international artists to Vietnam. So the question is, could an increase in the programming of international artists lead to diminishing the programming of Vietnamese artists in Vietnam? And I just want to remind you that any participants here in this hall, if you have a questions, you can raise your hand, or online participants, can you please leave your message in the comment box? So please ask us any questions of your interest. And now the first question goes to Hằng. What do you think about this? How do you address the question of this topic? So the question is, could an increase in the programming of international artists lead to diminishing the programming of Vietnamese artists in Vietnam? How does it affect Vietnam situation?
I do not really think having more international artists will decrease the opportunities for local artists to be on stage, because in Monsoon Music Festival, we always strive for a balance between the artists. So we want to have an even split between local and international artists. So if you look at the lineup of Monsoon every year, we do try to change the lineup. So we try not to repeat the same artists every year and every other year. In terms of even the headliners, we always look for new headliners at Monsoon every year. And I think the balance that we are trying to create, we want to create a platform for the audience to explore the artists, because we have a lot of talented artists in the region and across the world, but then we also have very talented local artists to be explored. So I think it's very important to create the balance. And besides, at Monsoon, we try to create a place where local artists can also learn from their fellow artists in the region in terms of performances, experiences, stories. That's the thing that we really want to look for at Monsoon. So I think after all, Monsoon we also an international festival. So we want to bring a variety of artists to be on stage and to introduce to people.
Cảm ơn Hằng rất là nhiều. Bây giờ thì muốn hỏi anh Pai là từ kinh nghiệm.
So Mr. Pai, so from your experience when you organize, events connecting to regional countries, especially international artists coming to Thailand, So how do international artists affect the local development of Thailand's artists when they visit Thailand and have performance there? Does it affect, does it lead to diminishing the programming of Thai artists in Thailand if international artists visit Thailand?
So reframing it a bit would bringing in international artists help or not help the local industry, right? So let's say every action has a reaction, and it could be positive or negative, and it totally depends on who is leading that action and who is telling that story. Let's say that if a promoter brings in an international artist that is so inspiring, that inspires the local artists to create better music, more international music, and also come in with an intention of collaborating with local artists. That definitely is a positive for the local artists, as they also would be able to see themselves on the world stage. They see an example of an international artist coming to their country, so it's easier for them to imagine themselves going out as well. So that's the positive part. But let's say that you bring in all these like top 40 international artists that are just here to do their show and not interact with any of the local artists. They just come here to make money and leave. That doesn't help anything at all, except for you know, making their money and leaving. They might inspire some artists to improve on their music, but on the general scheme, not really helping anything. So the promoters, the influencers, the people who have the power to communicate these ideas would need to, you know, craft the right story if they want to help the scene prosper. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, this reminds me of Duc Anh's answer on how to attract international artists, and especially new artists. We would have the local Vietnamese artists to attract attention. So I think it is a new, yes, in the counter way. I think I think this is a very good suggestion from both Vietnamese side and international side. I think from Mr. Pai said, I think to promote interaction, yes, interaction between two sides. Thank you, Mr. Pai. And for Duc Anh Hưng from Polygon, please, from your own experience, from both HRC and Polygon Music. So if I ask about international artists to increase or to decrease the opportunities, do you think this is a threat? Hưng first, please.
I had a band, and I think more than 10 years ago, our band practiced in the studio very hard and well, and I thought that, yeah, we can play like international artists. But in 2010, when we first played at the same stage with Hail the Brilliant, they are the big names, and I remember my feeling that I said to my bandmates, I said, "Wow, we have a gap. We have a big gap, my friends. So we need to improve more and more." They didn't play music. They perform, they live, and yeah, they play like they are, how to say, they are in love. It's not a normal performance, yeah. And we found that we are gears. It's not enough to a big concert like this. We need to improve our gears, improve our technique and knowledge about sound system, something like that. And yeah, it's so for me a chance to have more international artists in Vietnam is very good for us. It's very important for us to improve.
Thank you. Cảm ơn Hưng. Đấy là về khía cạnh nghệ sĩ. Thế còn về phía khán giả thì sao? Anh Duc Anh.
Please, from the audience. Duc Anh, what do you think? And from your own observation, please.
So in my experience, as I said, we're quite behind the wall in terms of music. My generation, 12 years ago, 20 years ago, every single one of us, 99% play covers. We only play covers, we don't write our music, 99%. And pretty much every single one play rock. Doesn't matter what kind of rock, punk rock, new metal, heavy metal, classical. That's the only thing we know. And that's the only thing we play. So the injection of international artists, I'm not even talking about like touring artists. You know, right? You were there 12 years ago. Even the expat, the foreigners who's living in Hanoi, and they play at HRC, for example, for 5-6 years, then Vietnamese kids were coming in and say, "Oh, what's this thing? Is reggae?" And they listen to reggae, they listen to a bit more jazzy fusion kind of stuff, alternative rock and experimental music and a lot of different things. So for the crowd itself and the artists, they'd be like, "Oh, I could actually write music. I could actually play other type of music rather than rock." Because you know, right, that we were growing up with just Metallica and Guns N' Roses, and that's the only thing. So even that's, I think, like you guys already said, their professionalism is inspiring the quality of music and whatnot. But at the same time, for Vietnamese artists and Vietnamese crowd, it's also very healthy for the exposure of different genre of music. And that's what I really hope. That's all the KOL or the musician, producer, promoter, somehow we could send a message that hopefully in 10, 20 years' time, every kid's growing up would have a more open-minded attitude toward music and art in general. Like, I can try anything. If I don't like it, that's fine. But a little bit more open-minded. And yeah, definitely the international artists and the expat in a local expat scene at the same time is inspiring and offers diversity to the artists in the crowd.
Thank you, Duc Anh. So I will talk about, when we're discussing, so the audience on live stream have a lot of questions, and they pose a lot of questions and suggestions and recommendations. From the questions of Thiên Minh Đức asks, so if bringing more international artists to Vietnam will not diminish the opportunities, I think it is not about the sound quality, or this is the budget, financial, not enough money for broadcast or advertising, except for Windrunner. So this is my a comment. It may be right, it might be wrong. So I think that's one topic they care much about. This is about finding information. So I think this one, this is topic number 3, yes, in this roundtable. So how to establish information channel for music festivals, events. And one comment is that.
Wow, bạn này hỏi một câu rất là comment một câu rất là kỹ thuật ở tiếng.
Yes, they comment on very technical terms.
Number of the actual spectator is larger than the number of spectators expected by the organizer. Is the flexibility to organize an extra show an opportunity or a risk? Câu hỏi của bạn là như thế. Ai muốn trả lời cái này? Tất cả ở đây đều có thể trả lời được hết, đúng không ạ? Ai xung phong giơ tay nhanh lên.
Yes, please, do you have any solutions, please, Tia? Vâng, và chúng tôi cũng là người tổ chức âm nhạc nữa, thì tôi nghĩ rằng là cái điều này rất là quan trọng và chúng ta phải cố gắng. Vâng, và chúng ta cũng cần phải quảng bá những cái nghệ sĩ tốt hơn. Và tôi nghĩ rằng là cái việc này chúng tôi cũng đang làm, cũng như là lễ hội âm nhạc gió mùa thì chúng tôi cũng đang làm, được không ạ, như chị Hằng? Hay là chúng tôi còn phải chọn địa điểm đúng đắn hay không, hay là đối tượng khán giả có phù hợp hay không, thì
put them in or to like help them get more act from. The audience might not, are the ones who appreciate their music. And it is, it's an issue. It's a budget issue. It's a sponsor issues. It's an audience issues. It's a taste in music issue. So there's a lot of issues, but that is something that I think that we all are working on.
We, in the future, do not have to worry about sponsors. I just look for bands, I book them, people buy a ticket to go see the band, had a good time, enjoy the music and go home. That's my biggest dream.
In order to fulfill your dream, you have to have a lot of, like power and respect within the audience. They know that what you're putting on, it's going to be good. And the second thing is you have to make sure that you do not worry about making profits, because that's not what you're going to get all the time.
That's what I'm very good at, not making profits.
Yes. Maybe a different kind of profit, invisible profit. Yeah. Yeah. Có một bạn ý hỏi về...
Yes. So what is the biggest obstacles to create promoters network, venue promoter network in Vietnam? They asked about the obstacles. Hằng, please.
I think probably there are a lot of barriers in order to create the kind of ideal network that we want for. Firstly, I think it would be competition, because the kind of network that we are creating, it includes promoters, festivals, producers, agencies, bookers, artists, and it's kind of like, there's a competition between certain parties involved in the network. So it's about creating a healthy competition in the network so you share the same platform, so you share the opportunities. So it's a shared opportunities to be beneficial for all the parties involved.
Rất là ngắn gọn, rất đơn giản, rất là trúng luôn. Bây giờ thì xin quay lại cái chủ đề về việc là làm sao để tạo ra được một cái sự tương tác hay là hai bên giữa nghệ sĩ quốc tế đến Việt Nam và phía bối cảnh phía Việt Nam cũng benefit tốt hơn. Từ phía nghệ sĩ quốc tế thì xin hỏi là các khách mời ở đây nghĩ là có thể làm gì tốt hơn so với bối cảnh hiện tại được không? Ví dụ chắc là tôi sẽ xin hướng đến anh Pai về việc là khi mà anh một cách chủ động tạo ra trong cái công ty Fungjai là tạo ra một cái hệ thống network ở tầm quốc tế, mà cụ thể như là anh tạo ra và tổ chức liên hoan Asian Music Showcase Festival, liên hoan âm nhạc ASEAN. Thế thì với cái công ty của anh ấy, cái việc tổ chức cái liên hoan âm nhạc có tính khu vực như thế này nó tác động tích cực như thế nào đối với lại chính cái tổ chức của anh ấy?
Okay, so you are asking me that organizing ASEAN Music Showcase, does it have any benefit back to my company? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would say it's all direct and indirect, depending on the context. Okay. The goal of my company, Fungjai, at first, we wanted to start helping the local scene, right, to prosper. We wanted small bands to be known more widely. We want people who listen to mainstream music to get to experience non-mainstream music, to listen to indie music. And trying to build that domestic market, you can only build it up to a level. You'd reach a ceiling, for example. You'd reach the ceiling of the mainstream market. You'd reach the ceiling of other competitors, right? But then instead of trying to compete with them, there's this new niche markets outside of Thailand, meaning that more and more people outside of Thailand are interested in Thai independent music. But the thing is, the Thai people never really knew about it until pretty much I went out and told people about it. So back in 2015, I went to a conference in Singapore called Music Matters, and went to some other conferences around the region, and I was pretty much the only Thai indie guy that people would ever meet. So because I was the connector for them to the scene, and before that, they never knew who to talk to, they were able to come to me to reach out to bands that they would like to invite to their countries. So in that case, it means that I am helping the Thai bands enter an international market while also bringing international bands over to Thailand. How does it benefit my company? First of all, we are able to organize an international music festival through these networks. And I would also be able to help Thai bands expand to other new markets, meaning that the company's brand also goes international as well. So that's a pretty short question that I could provide right now.
Cảm ơn anh Pai. Bây giờ còn một câu hỏi nhỏ.
So one small question before.
Nãy giờ chúng ta đã có
One more question before we end the second session. So how can we create a connection between local international artists? So Hằng, you mentioned the healthy competition, right? That is a healthy competition instead of toxic competition. And Mr. Pai also emphasized the connection. So can you suggest some specific recommendation or ideas? Can you please specify what do you mean by healthy system? What do you mean by interaction? So can you list some activities to demonstrate positive, activities so that our audience can have a better understanding? Or Hưng, you said that inspiring. Can you be specific about that?
So one of the things I'm trying to do is organizing, of course, networking and conferences, even bringing labels to come in to, do their A&R and testing out, or just to listen to local talents' music, and bring the chance for the local artists to have the opportunities to approach with international artists and labels and management and have an understanding of how the music industry works. And also, as promoters and as club owners and as management, Panda Media, we thrive to be a bridge between the international music company, artists, and the Vietnamese, industry. And we have tried to create a network with our regional and international promoters' friends so that we could promote their shows in our venues, and vice versa, send our artists, like exporting our artists to other international events like DWP, like S2O Thailand, like Creamfields Thailand, like Ultra Japan. So I think like this networking, it has to not just be, local wise, it has to be regional and international wise, so that we can help international artists and local, regional artists to localize their content and localize their audience in our country, and vice versa, like bring our artists out to the region and to the international market as well.
Hay là Hằng có muốn add thêm idea? Thực ra là
Hằng, would you like to add some more ideas? I know that Monsoon has, had organized a lot of things like that. Can you please describe one specific activity, one specific event, your own experience?
Years we've been trying to establish a networking connection with international music festivals worldwide. So we take part in their showcases, conferences, and we also do music import and export. For example, in 2017 and 2019, we did an artist exchange program with MuCon, which is a very famous music showcase and festival in Korea. So we sent out local artists to perform in Korea, and we also had Korean artists to perform on the stage of Monsoon. And there's another example that Monsoon Music Festival has also been a co-organizer of the AMS with Pai here. He's the co-founder at AMS. So the festival has been going on for 3 years. So last year we, even though the actual event couldn't take place because of COVID-19, but then each and every country member proposed a few artists to be performed virtually on the stage of AMS. And this year, the event finally took place, and then all the country members flew to Singapore, and then each country had their own artists to perform on the stage of AMS. So those were a few examples that Monsoon tried to do over the past few years in order to consolidate the network that we've been having, and then also to develop further in order to try to create some sort of like network within Vietnam and also across the border.
Cảm ơn Hằng rất là nhiều. Có các bạn tiếp tục bình luận và nêu ra.
I see a lot of comments here, and one of which they care about, I think, in Southeast Asia, compared to Thailand or Philippines, Vietnamese artists are not really well known to international audience. This is such a pity, but no, I don't know why, because some Vietnamese songs are famous, but then the artists are not really famous. So they care about how to bring Vietnamese artists and also the brands to overseas. So Linket care about this, and the thing is tomorrow's topic. I think Linket should keep up with us in tomorrow's roundtable, how to bring Vietnamese artists to overseas. And today's topic is to bring international artists to Vietnam. Thank you. I think now we will move to topic number 3. Yes, it is to inform on major events, how we can find information. I would like to thank all the guests, all the panelists. I think this is high quality information, very sincere and honest. I think I have been updated a lot with your work. Thank you very much. And yes, join us today. And then I would like to thank Mr. Mike Brown from Billboard Vietnam. Thank you for your patience, for joining us from the very beginning. And topic number 3 is inform on major events. Mr. Mike Brown from International Business Development from Billboard Vietnam, and a very famous global worldwide magazine on the music and music events. And he's also the co-founders and co-producers Atropic Asia and studio on logistics and how to create digital creators. Thank you, Mike Brown. And also for your colleagues, Mr. Eugene Lo from Billboard Vietnam. On topic number 3 on today's LiveSpace Pro. And please welcome on stage Mr. Phạm Huy Thông from Thao Van Hoa, and a very famous Vietnamese Grammys. Thank you, Mr. Thông. And Mr. Thịnh Hoàng from Co Động. Co Động is a network and to share and to promote international artists and music. And he's also a reporter from Duncan Magazine. It's about street arts. Thank you, Mr. Thịnh Hoàng and Co Động. I'm a fan of Co Động too. And Mr. Pai will still join us on topic number 3. And I will also be here. I was one of the panelists to share information. I'm director of Hanoi Grapevine, and it's a live platform on bilingual events since 2007. And we still survive now. And we also promote solutions and research in terms of creative system, a working space for stakeholders or individuals or governments. So we have several questions from the audience. They care about how to find information, how to create channels so that the customers or the viewers or audience can get better approach. For example, in Da Nang, international concerts in Da Nang, I didn't know where to find. I think where to find places to better music taste, know where to find the places as such. And this Da Nang, yes, this is the question we need to ponder, how we can create information channels. Before handing over to panelists, I'd like to ask Mike Brown, please. you are with us. Thank you for your patience. And your question is, what are the reasons? I'm very curious because why Billboard coming to Vietnam? What are the reasons that Billboard decided to go to Vietnam? And in near future, what is the development plan for Billboard?
First of all, I'd like to thank LiveSpace for inviting us to this forum. And I think forums like this are greatly needed to build the music industry. I think that how Billboard has been created over the past in the US is always supporting artists. And I think that is probably one of the core reasons why Billboard has actually survived in this market. The other side of it is that we have released charts, and one of the core reasons, again, for Billboard's existence in Vietnam is being able to bring standardization to the charts, creating a metric, for the artists and brands and people who are in the industry, including promoters, to gauge, to see, the positioning, because the metric is really set by the fans and how they consume content. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Eugene.
Well, I think it's primarily because Billboard is the biggest brand and the most recognized and respected brand in the music industry in the whole world. So while Vietnam is a very vibrant music industry, but at the same time, very, very young. So at the very start of this 4 or 5 years ago, when Billboard came in here, the whole idea was to be able to come in here, bring in the standard, bring in the charts, bring in certain legitimacy and a certain standard to be able to group, measure success, right? In order to be able to help bring Vietnamese artists out of Vietnam and vice versa, to bring international music, introduce music, international music artists into Vietnam as well. And together, all those elements combined will help grow the music industry into a solid, rigid, and proper music industry.
Yeah, and also one of the charters for Billboard is really to take our local artists here and be able to push them into the international market. So even though we are here to promote artists, to tell their stories, we're also telling these same stories internationally. So we look at ourselves as pretty much the olive branch to the world through your music, and we're the voice for you.
Cảm ơn anh Mike và anh.
Thank you for your answer. I'm very glad to hear that. I'm very glad to see the presence of Billboard in Vietnam. So I see the potentials of connectivity of Vietnamese artists in Vietnam. So the question is what should we do to exploit, to maximize the potentials that we have? So I think the potentials are there, but then what should we do? Yes, from Vietnam side, from Mr. Thịnh Hoàng from Cổ Động, please, from Phạm Huy Thông from Thao Van Hoa, and from me, from Grapevine, would like to join hands and to clarify on the social platforms for Vietnamese audience and for the readers to approach and to get updated with the information, what their choice is at the moment. And for each platform, for example, like Hanoi Grapevine or Cổ Động or Thao Van Hoa, there are different ways we should do. So to create the platforms and forums, or maybe how to create and how to create the information channels, please. Please.
Mình xin trả lời cái câu hỏi này, tức là mình nghĩ là trước đây.
I think that we didn't have many events before, and our social network did not develop very well. So people just got to know about this from mouth to mouth. But now you can see a lot of platforms, a lot of channels for people to get to know this information from fan page, website, or Instagram, TikTok. Personally, I think they are quite separated from each other. So each website, attracts a certain group of audience. For example, our communication team, work on, contemporary art, and we couldn't approach a lot of audience under this topic. And for Co Động, I know that we often, provide some support in terms of communication for indie music development. And we also organize some, artistic events. And for me, we also want to develop kind of process so that we can share more information to the audience. I know that Co Động now is a fan page for followers of Co Động. So we just follow your information on your fan page, and Co Động also organize events on Facebook. Or do you just upload contents there, like post your contents there? Actually, now Co Động support for communication for different events. We also provide consultation for event organizers. And later on, we may be interested in organizing events. We may work with different agencies and organizations to organize events. So we are interested in organizing more events. I would like to give more information about the background of Co Động here. Co Động was born in 2017, and it is a fan page to provide a lot of support, consistent support for indie music in Vietnam. That's why it is a great contributor to indie music development in Vietnam. And for Hanoi Grapevine, we also pay a lot of attention to the audience. So somebody just shared with us that a lot of audience could not approach or get information about different events, and they want to know how they can get information. So please visit hanoigrapevine.com. That is our website address. We developed this website to address the expectations for a lot of followers who are interested in art events. So if you visit the website, you can see the schedule. For example, if you are free at weekends, you want to look for some events organized at the weekends, you can have a look at the schedule to see whether there is a gallery or art show or workshop in Hanoi or in Ho Chi Minh City. So we are trying our best to provide as much information as possible on our website. So now we often provide information about Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. We do also provide some information about Da Nang and some other cities. So to be brief, it was some information that you can find on Grapevine. And now I would like to move to Sport and Culture magazine. So the question that you raised, here is my comment. So first, you want to know about events. So you're talking about entertaining events, right? Cultural and arts events. So first, maybe we need to talk about you first, audience. So if you are interested in local art or international art, international culture, then you yourself, you should care about what's going on, news of this area, especially me. We are professional journalists. We need to care about the news and also what's going on in this area. We need to care not only about national but also international artists. So even when they organize an event, even in the early morning, like 1 or 2 a.m. in Vietnam, then we should stay up late and try to follow the event of like the launching ceremony of some album or some music project. So I think it's very important for the audience themselves. When you are interested in this topic, then we first need to try our best to find own ways to be informed. So as a journalist, we are like a mediator. So we will collect information from the artists. So the question here actually comes from the audience that so that is an audience who is interested in some events. For example, that audience may visit one city and that audience may want to know whether there is an event in that city. So how can the audience get information about events like this? And if we don't have a kind of information system available, then how can we build up that system? So for communication staff, I think in Vietnam, this is a great challenge for communication staff. I remember that we used to have one page that journalists liked a lot. That is interesting event site. It's very similar to Uyên Ly's website. On that website, we could see events or schedules because journalists or reporters wanted to know what's going on, then can send a journalist or reporter to these events. So we can look at the future events so that we can, inform the audience about this. I know that even our audience even phoned us, and we had to tell them about the events, whether it was a free entrance or whether the audience had to pay to enter the event. So that was a very interesting website, but now it is no longer there. So the next question is, what should we do to improve? So from your own perspective, so you see that from Co Động point of view, right? You see that these kind of events or channels here are quite separated from each other, right? And so how can we improve? So from my own perspective, when we see a lot of significant technological developments, for example, we used to have paper-based newspapers. Now we have web-based, and now we have social network. And a lot of channels have been developed at a faster speed. So new channels are born in every 2 or 3 years. And young people now turn to a lot of new channels like TikTok or Short of View or Instagram. So that is a fast or rapid development. So that is the situation. And another one, as you said before, how to attract audience of different groups. You know that we have some specific groups. For example, jazz fan may just want to concentrate on jazz information. So as different channels, how can we improve ourselves to inform our audience better, to meet the expectations of different audience with different tastes? So that is a question to us, right? How can we improve the system of information? So can you share with us what you think, Co Động? For us, Hanoi Grapevine, I think needs to think a lot about this, how to adapt to rapid changes. We first listen to the audience and try to meet the audience expectation with our existing resources. So first, we have our website. We also have Facebook, and we also want how to make our grapevine, known to the audience. For example, the live streamed event here. How can we make this known to as many audience as possible? And of course, we want to make it free to our audience, right? So then we need to have more investment. We need to pay more investment. And this is a great challenge that we are facing now. So Thịnh and Hưng, I would like to listen to from you. How can we improve our information system channels? Thank you.
Yes, I think that we often talk about these times is 4.0. We live and we work in 4.0, and we think in every attitude and every actions we do is just 0.4. Somehow we will lag behind. For this reason, for people like us, reporters working in Thao Van Hoa like us, we are fully aware that we should keep up with, we should live with this, and we should be operating ourselves with it. And this in the music industry, if we not do this, we will be lagged behind. And our advantages are that we can we have the operation model, multi-purpose operation model, and every year we have our own reflection on our path and how to provide information to the readers and to the audience. And we see what should we do, what are the improvements. And one of the best improvement we've done so far is the platform. And how to provide with the readers with the best, the latest, and the information in all aspects in which we have cultural and entertainment events. For a reporter in Thao Van Hoa, and I believe that for all other reporters from other agencies, we are not only produce in a text form, and we provide 3 or 4 in 1, which means we have the mixed of all other forms, such as text with images, video clips, or other forms, and we share the information with the readers. For example, LiveSpace. We are not only delivering on paper-based paper or web-based paper, but then we also have it on TV, on YouTube, on fan page. And clearly you can see that it brings a lot of effects, positive effects. We receive a lot of phone calls on LiveSpace Pro. Still, there are something we cannot explain. They're not something we can just provide telephone, so for the readers can contact themselves. Okay, so let's come back with LiveSpace. So this series of programs, just like stimulants, a good stimulants for us, for international and also for young artists. And they like the most is money or budget. And the question I got a lot, very frequent, is whether we are funded by we are funded or not. Maybe we should focus on the information, please. So we come back with the information, how the information can be approached by the customers or the viewers. I think the content is king and the technological platform is the queen. Or we can say vice versa. And we should keep up. We should catch up. We can keep update with the trends. I think that we should have the anticipation, the future prediction, future projection, and we should see what trend are we in the future, and we should adjust ourselves in the future as well. How should we do? We keep up with the information and bring along with the viewers and also it should be very effective for the audience. Thank you. Yes, I would like to ask Pi. And I think Pi can share with us about the channels and the information channels that you use at the moment. So I understand that from your side, you have online magazines, right? And also other social media platforms, and also music streaming platforms. It is very diverse types of information. So in your roadmap of building these platforms, so which one is the one that you build first and which one you build later? And in all those operations of the companies, what are the budget, what are the percentage of the budget that you use for these platforms?
Cảm ơn anh Pai.
Hello, hope you can hear me. I was hearing a lot of radio interference just now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I think your question is asking about how to build a media company in this day and age. Would that be correct?
And how to build platforms, I mean, information, communication channel, platforms. And
How to build a platform, and which platform do you build first? Which platform will you next?
of the company spend
I
on
think
that.
I think what you're really trying to ask is like how to create a media platform of some sort. But the thing is, it's not just one platform, right? It depends on the audience. When we first started, we started with the media that people use the most. And that was back in like 2014, that was Facebook. So we wrote short articles on Facebook. We posted like new songs released that week. We recommended songs, we recommended music videos. We talked about artists, and those were just posts on Facebook. Now, after that, we thought that we should have our own kind of platform. So we created a blog using WordPress or similar website builders. Then we use social media to communicate about the content and try to bring people to read on the blog. But then the blog started evolving into an online magazine. So it became a full-on online magazine in like probably half a year. So it took some steps before evolving into an online magazine. And that totally depends on how people consume media. But for nowadays, the new generation, as you know, they're starting to use different types of platforms. It could be TikTok, it could be Instagram, it could be Twitter. So you need to choose like which platform you're going to use to reach out to that audience and then bring them onto your owned platform. Your own platform could be a website, which could be an online magazine, or a music streaming platform like what Fungjai has. We also, the thing is, we did it in parallel. We started developing the online music streaming web application alongside the social media. And then when they evolved together, and then the web application turned into a mobile app afterwards. So I hope that kind of explains how to evolve the media channels that you use and also utilize and build to actually, you know, start building an audience and a following and how to communicate with them.
Yeah. Thank you, Pai.
Yes, thank you, Kaya. Yes, do you have any questions from the audience, please? I have one question for Mike before I ask the audience. So ponder the questions first, please. So for Mike Brown, please, I have a question for you. I have a question about Billboard. Because Billboard has been existed for many years, so maybe undergone many ups and downs. So what do you think are the survival skills of Billboard? after so many years?
I don't know if it's a skill, but I think it's with Billboard, it's been mostly about passion. And I think we can all say in our business that passion has driven just about everything that we all do, from concerts and artists becoming an artist. And I think that we all share the same DNA. I believe for Billboard, I think that we're no different than everybody else. I think that we embrace that and be able to push artists who are in the market here to take them out, but within the market, being able to amplify them in a way that, again, we tell their story. So it goes back to, again, the passion of what we love to do. So I think that's probably our biggest survival skill, I would probably think.
Yep. I mean, to be honest, it's what we have, which is the real love for music that drives us through ups and downs, right? And the pure love of music and the belief in music. I mean, we all both come from a long history of the music industry, so that drives us to not change. I mean, it's so easy to be able to change a format and give up, whether it's COVID or whatever it is, during down times. It's so easy to just like, oh, you know what, let's switch to lifestyle, let's switch to fashion and all that kind of stuff. But we kind of stuck to believing in music and believing that even though, for example, Vietnam is a very vibrant, like I said, music industry, but it's also very, very young. And to be honest, that's where the exciting part of it, right? And listening to what we hear today about wanting to bring more international music and artists in, you know, that's really exciting. And that's needed. That's very badly needed in Vietnam, especially now it's open. Audience and musicians here need to open up their ears and be able to hear and cross-breed music across boundaries. And this is where it gets really exciting. And that's what keeps us going.
Yeah. And for artists, you know, and actually shows and artists, you know, we're here to always support that, you know, always trying to help, you know, about every genre of music, because we don't really stick to one genre. So we do cross over. And I think that where Vietnam is right now, I mean, I think earlier in the panel, people talked about, you know, networking together, you know, coming together, you know, and really, you know, be in a space where we can all grow the music business together. So Billboard is definitely in on that. And I think that with us being behind the scenes, we work with a lot of the festivals, being able to take their story out. So we will continue to do that. So from Billboard to everyone, you know, we support on all the artists and shows and things that can propel the music business. And hopefully we'll be able to get stories out that they pick up internationally and then be able to amplify even more so. So that would be the ultimate dream for us, just like Billboard to help propel BTS. And they were regional, or actually all through Asia, and they were going around the world, but until Billboard stepped in, they were doing okay. But when Billboard stepped in, they did phenomenal and became the biggest band in the world. So we hope to have Vietnamese artists be in that same situation. I know we will, and I think that time will be coming up. So that's what keeps us going. That's our survival skill.
Thank you, Mike and Ojen.
Yes.
Khi mà nói
Talking about
với lại những người mà trực tiếp làm ra các kênh thông
information channels, I talk about how to approach the events. I think it's a very difficult topic. I think because we're behind the scene rather than being the front desk, right? So I can sense, I can understand the needs and the approaching chance of the audiences at the moment. So if you're sitting here, you are with us, you're working with us, how to create information channels. So I hope that you will expecting more from us, because we are thriving, we are endeavoring our best, because we need to have constant changes and connections and network with different types of audience and different types of platforms, and to figure out how to connect all different types of platforms all together, as well as the flow of information, and to be tangible, feasible, and flexible to the audience. I understand that people like us and the audience will try our best. And in the meantime, of creating the network of mobile applications, just like Mr. Pipe just mentioned, or suggestions from the audience, I think we should have the concert map. So I think I hope that in future you guys will support us more, like Billboard Vietnam, or Hanoi Grapevine, or fan pages of cổ động and websites of Thao Van Hoa. So with the diversity as such, we will create a better ecosystem and a better and more positive picture for Vietnamese music industry. So I'd like to close topic number 3 here, and also the last topic of this roundtable of LiveSpace Pro. Thank you very much, Mr. Pipe and Mike Brown, for accompanying us this afternoon roundtable. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you all the panelists for coming here, and thank you the audience for joining us on live stream and also the venue. Thank you Complex 01 and for sponsoring the venue and inviting the representative from Complex 01. And we have the reception networking for you to talk and to network with each other outside. So I'd like to close the LiveSpace Pro online today and see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Goodbye.